What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today I need to share some information, some news with you about a tabletop game which is in the works, about which I am very excited indeed. Now, the game itself is Monster Hunter World, and you may have heard about this, you may not. It was doing the rounds a little while ago. We had no real information about it, so I didn't cover it at the time. But now we do have a bunch of information. It's something I want to talk about. Of course, it is based on Monster Hunter World, that being the Capcom video game, which is on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, all of that, where you get a bunch of weapons, upgrade your gear, etc., and go hunt down giant monsters. And it seems to be that the board game is where you go and get a bunch of weapons, upgrade your gear, and go and hunt down some giant monsters, which frankly sounds pretty good to me. Of course, with Monster Hunter Rise coming out for the Nintendo Switch in just a few weeks' time as I record this, and Monster Hunter Stories 2 coming on the Switch a little bit later as well, this does seem like a pretty Monster Hunter heavy time at the moment. Seems like if you're into Monster Hunter, it might be kind of nice. It is worth pointing out that this is specifically called Monster Hunter World, which is to say it is based on the most recent non-Switch game, the one that's on all of those consoles and stuff what have good graphics. Although I'm not dissing the Switch, I adore my Switch. So what's been revealed now is the pledge levels, essentially how much it's going to cost, and what you get. Now, the first image they seem to have shown us here does feature clearly one of the hunters with a redonkulously big sword, and you can see there the side profile, the front and the back. This will give you an appreciation of the models and roughly how detailed they're going to be. Of course, at this stage, I should probably mention that this game is coming from Steamforged Games, and they've done a lot of video gamey stuff. They've actually done a lot of Capcom video gamey stuff. So things like Resident Evil 2, recently Devil May Cry. They've got Resident Evil 3 in the works. Steamforged have done a bunch of video game adaptations, not just Capcom stuff, but certainly Steamforged and Capcom have worked together. At this stage, it seems like a bunch. We do also have a bit of a closer look at this particular dude. I'm going to be honest with you, my knowledge of Monster Hunter is not as high as I would like, but there is a nice detailed model you can see here. And they certainly are going for the detail on them, but they kind of have to. The whole point of it is that it is going to be a game where you hunt these big monsters. Now, what essentially you're told is this. Follow the scout flies on a choose-your-own-adventure style journey, trekking through the steamy jungles of the ancient forest or the fetid swamps of the Wildspire Wastes to gather resources and search for a monster that could appear at any moment. So it seems to be very much like the video games, that rather than a go here, do this, it's set off on a hunt, gather your equipment, get everything ready, and then try and find it, but you never know exactly where it's going to pop up. In the coming weeks, they're going to be revealing more details and sneak peeks into the gameplay contents and the incredible monster minis that will bring Monster Hunter World to life on your tabletop, one of which is over a foot tall. So if this video is popular, if you guys are into this, I will be sharing updates on this game as it comes along, and then getting a copy, doing gameplay, all the fun things, to be honest with you. So as always, let me know if you want to see more coverage of this game, and of course, view numbers are important. So, you know, maybe send it to your friends. Who knows? So we do know the pledge levels. The entry pledge is actually, it's a lot cheaper than I was imagining. $70, 56 euros, 51 pounds. That is not particularly expensive. When I think Monster Hunter video game, I think big monsters. When I think Monster Hunter tabletop game, I think big miniature models of those monsters, which is going to push the price up. Having said that, it is very much an entry-level pledge. You get 4 extra large monsters. Again, don't be too sucked into that. There's like, over all the pledges, there is exactly 1 large monster, and everything else is extra large, extra large, or extra large. That's the foot tall one, we'll get there in a minute. So, although they call them extra large monsters, XL really does seem to be the standard model. And you can see the hunters there on the image as well, so that'll give you an idea of the kind of scale of the monsters you're getting here. So you get 4 hunters, 4 monsters, over 600 cards, a double-sided board, a rule book, and a quest book. This does seem like a very entry-level pledge. It seems like it is going to give you an idea of the game. It doesn't seem like it's going to be huge on replayability. I'm loving the 600 cards, but 4 hunters, 4 monsters, 1 board. It seems like it is going to be exactly what it says on the tin. It is an entry pledge. It gives you an idea of the game and lets you go through a few quests, but it seems like the kind of thing where you either play it, have a bit of fun and put it down, or you play it and go, right, how do I go ahead and find some expansions? Moving up into the core pledge, we are doubling here. And I mean, we're doubling in 2 currencies, and we're slightly more than doubling in the third. I don't know how that works. We got $140, 125 euros. Sorry to anyone paying in euros. It should be 112. And £102. Seriously, they've doubled the pounds and dollars, but they've doubled the euro and then added 13 to it, which is just under a third. Doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me. I don't know how that works. Maybe it's some kind of shipping thing. I don't know. But here you get 7 extra large monsters, so they've added 3 there. A large monster, which is really a small monster, and an XXL monster. So here they've added in an extra category of monster. They've added in a bigger monster, as well as 3 of the XL and a large. You've now got 8 hunters, which is double the number. 1,200 cards, which is double the number, 2 double-sided boards, which is double the number, 2 quest books, which is double the number, 2 rule books, which is double the number. They've basically doubled everything, except instead of getting 4 extra large monsters, you get 3 extra large, 1 large, and 1 XXL. And this seems to be, if you actually want to get into the game, this seems to be your standard. Because now you've got a couple of boards, you've got your 9 monsters, one of which is very big, your 8 hunters. This seems like it's going to give you a far fuller experience. You'll also notice there are essentially 2 boxes there. So you've got the Ancient Forest and Wildspire Waste, which seem to be like 2 little campaigns, so to speak. But if you are a Monster Hunter fan, if you want to get into this, you're going to want the all-in pledge. And the all-in pledge is where it starts to really ramp up. And this is where it's going to start feeling like a Monster Hunter tabletop game that is going to be shipped to you in an actual shipping container. Because you've got the same large monster you had before, you've got the same 7 XL monsters, but instead of 1 XXL monster, you get 3 XXL monsters and 1 XXXL monster, which I'm assuming is the one that is over a foot tall. So now they're really ramping up the monsters. We've essentially gone from 4 monsters in the entry pledge. Now you're up to 12 monsters, 4 of which are rather big indeed. And again, we are basically treble the entry pledge here, because we've got 12 monsters rather than 4, 12 hunters rather than 4, 1,800 cards rather than 600. But now we've got 8 rule books and quest books. We've still only got the 2 double-sided boards, which is a little bit sad. But now you can see from the boxes that there's basically what looks to be... Well, I'm not entirely sure, because we can't see the boxes too well. Some of those boxes look more like they've just got monsters in, but it looks like we've got at least kind of 4 quest boxes there, so to speak. There is a lot going on here, but then again, you're going to pay for it. £203, so we have all but doubled the previous one. €249 and $279. So we are all but doubling again here. Not exactly, which makes me a little sad, but near as darn it. And this is your big Monster Hunter box, yeah? This is going to be what gives you essentially everything you need. But what about the extras? Now, one thing that must be really pointed out clearly here, the entry pledge does not give you the unlocks. This is launching on Kickstarter on April 2021. That is 2 months from now. That's been on the bottom of all these big images. But it's important to note that on Kickstarter you have all of these stretch goals, the unlocks. When X number of people back or X number of money is put into the backing, there are generally extra cards, models. We haven't been given any information about this. Again, if this video is popular enough, I'll cover that when it is revealed. But essentially here, it's that there's going to be extra stuff. At some point, extra stuff is going to happen. You don't get it with the entry pledge. You do get it with the core pledge, and you do get it with the all-in pledge. So it doesn't matter which one of those two you get in terms of the unlocks, but please do remember the entry pledge really is an entry pledge. You don't get the unlocks. I don't think I can recommend the entry pledge, honestly. It's a cheap way to buy into it, but one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to like the game, and this really does seem like a very bare-bones version of it, or you're not going to like the game, and I suppose at that point you've only wasted 50 quid, but yeah. I can see why you wouldn't want to go for the all-in pledge here, because it really does seem slightly over the top. But for me, if I go for this, it's not going to be anything below the core, and the all-in pledge is really going to... It's going to depend on how good I've been and how much my wife likes me at the time I go all-in on the Kickstarter. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. This seems like a really exciting tabletop game. It's one that I'm going to be following. Whether I follow it with videos or just on my own, that is going to come down to how popular these videos are. So if you want to hear more about these kind of games, do make sure you tell your friends, watch them, share it round, things of that nature. But now I want to hear from you guys. Do you like Monster Hunter? Is this something that you are a little bit excited about? Is this a game you think you're going to be backing on Kickstarter? Or is it going to be a pass from you? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about all kinds of games like this and many others. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.